There comes a time in your life when the greatest strategy is not found in speaking louder, but in growing deeper. When the most powerful move is not arguing with fools, but ascending in silence. You see, when God begins to elevate you, not everyone will understand the transformation. That's why your energy must be guarded, your time protected, and your peace preserved. Stop trying to convince people of who you are. Stop wasting breath explaining your process to those who were never meant to walk with you. Some folks will only see the dirt, but never the seed. They can't understand the struggle, the pressure, the darkness, because they weren't assigned to your soul. So stop talking and start building. Stop explaining and start evolving. Stop proving and start growing. When you focus on yourself, something divine begins to happen. My path sharpens, your heart heals. But this requires silence. Because in the silence, you will hear what the noise was drowning out. In the silence, you will feel what the cost was numbing. And in the silence, you will see who was really for you and who was feeding off you. Growth doesn't always shout. It whispers. It takes root in quiet places. It's in the unseen hours, in the disciplined routines, in the prayers no one hears, in the tears no one sees. That's where true transformation begins. It's courage to win, so don't be discouraged when you're misunderstood. Don't get anxious when they don't clap. Don't feel defeated when you're overlooked, because you are not done. You're becoming. Focus on the assignment, not the applause. Tend to your soul like a garden. Pull the weeds of bitterness. Water your dreams with discipline. Protect your peace like treasure, because the version of you that God is crafting requires isolation, requires pruning, and yes, it requires silence. Some doors won't open until you stop knocking on the wrong ones. Some breakthroughs won't happen until you break ties with the toxic. Some blessings won't come until you bless yourself with boundaries. So focus. Focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Stay silent like your peace is sacred, because it is. Let them talk. Let them walk away. They're not chasing approval. You're chasing purpose. You're not here to impress. You're here to impact. And you can't do that looking sideways. You can't that losing sleep over who's gossiping. You can't do that staying stuck in what they think, because they didn't call you. They didn't save you. They don't sustain you. So today, I dare you, focus on yourself and stay silent, and watch what happens when heaven honors the humble, when the quiet storms become mighty rivers, and when the ones they counted out rise without saying a word. There is a misconception in this world that silence is weakness, that if you're not speaking, you're losing, that if you're not reacting, you're being walked over. But let me tell you, silence is not weakness. Silence is strength dressed in discipline. Silence is strategy. And sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to say absolutely nothing. When you stop talking, people assume they figured you out. But silence has a way of unsettling those who live for attention. Silence breaks the rhythm of cause. It disrupts the enemy's tactics. It removes the fuel from the fire, because some fires were brighter when you blow air on them. But when you starve them, when you stay silent, they burn themselves out. Not every attack deserves a response. Not every assault deserves a reply. Not every battle is meant to be fought out loud. Silence doesn't mean you're ignoring the situation. It means you're rising above it. It means you've graduated from needing to clap back. It means you've matured to the level where your peace is more precious than your pride. And in this noisy world, where everyone is screaming to be seen, shouting to be heard, there is a quiet power in staying grounded. The one who controls their tongue controls their destiny. The one who can keep quiet in the heat of offense, in the fire of betrayal, in the face of misunderstanding, that one is truly powerful. See, your silence gives you room to see clearly. It gives you time to think, to pray, to reflect, to refocus. Because while others are wasting their breath on gossip, on arguments, on drama, you're investing your energy into growth, into your next move, in courage to win, into becoming. While they're looking for attention, you're chasing alignment. While they're posting for applause, you're preparing for purpose. There's a reason why the lion doesn't roar at every dog that barks. There's a reason why eagles fly high above the noise. Because when you know who you are, when you're confident in where you're going, you don't need to defend your position to every critic. Silence says, I know what I'm carrying. Silence says, I'm not distracted. Silence says, I'm above it, but don't get it twisted. Silence is not passivity. It's not apathy. It's not fear. No, silence is an intentional choice to not engage in things that don't serve your destiny. It's the decision to protect your spiritual climate, to guard your focus like a fortress. Because when you let every voice into your ears to win, you start doubting your own vision. When you let every criticism reach your heart, you lose straight for your assignment. You've got to get the point where your silence is louder than their noise, where your growth is your clapback, where your success is your speech, where your fruit is your testimony. There is a version of you that's being formed in the quiet, a stronger you, a wiser you, a more focused, more disciplined, more powerful you. But you'll only meet that version when you learn to sit in silence, when you stop reacting to everything around you and start aligning with what's inside you. So let them talk. Let them guess. Let them misunderstand. You don't need to explain your growth to people who aren't willing to water their own roots. Keep your silence. Hold your peace. Because your silence is not an answer power, it's the proof of it. You are not retreating. You are rising. You are not ignoring. You are evolving. And sometimes the most anointed thing you can do is say nothing at all. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is sacred. It is a divine act of stewardship, taking care of the one vessel you've been given to carry your purpose. We live in a world where distractions come dressed in every form, people, opinions, expectations, noise. And if you're not careful, you'll start living your life through someone else's lens. You'll pour so much into others that you end up empty. You'll chase applause and miss your assignment. But when you shift your focus inward, when you turn your gaze away from the crowd and back to your own heart, that is when transformation begins. It's courage to focus on yourself, because it means turning down the volume of external validation and tuning into the quiet voice within. It means taking inventory of your patterns, your wounds, your habits, and your hopes. It means asking hard questions. Am I whole? Am I healing? Am I aligned with what I say I want? Focusing on yourself demands honesty. It demands responsibility. It demands that you stop blaming everybody else for where you are and start taking ownership of where you're going. See, when no one else is going to do the internal work for you. They might encourage you, but they can't transform you. They might support you, but they can't save you. This journey is yours, and until you realize that, you'll keep spinning in circles, waiting on someone else to fix what only you can face. It takes courage. You'll keep being drained by people you were never meant to carry. You'll keep building lives that look good on the outside but are hollow within. Focusing on yourself means setting boundaries, not because you're mean, but because you're wise. It means learning how to say no without apology. It means choosing rest over burnout, truth over people-pleasing, and purpose over performance. Because when you finally understand your worth, you stop beginning to be seen and start building in silence. You stop competing and start cultivating. You stop performing and start becoming. And let me tell you, when you start to focus on yourself, some people won't like it. They were comfortable with the version of you that always said yes, always showed up, always sacrificed your peace for their comfort. But growth will cost you some relationships. It will cost you some circles. It will even cost some habits that used to feel good but kept you bound. That's the price of becoming. That's the price of evolving. But let me assure you, it's worth it. When you focus on yourself, clarity comes. Vision becomes sharper. You begin to realize what truly matters. You begin to heal from what you thought needed. You begin to feel strength rising from places that were once weak. And the beauty of it all is this: the better you become for yourself, the better you become for everyone else. Your cup overflows not because you're pouring from emptiness, but because you're filled with intention, love, and alignment. You are not created to merely survive. You were made to thrive, and you can't thrive while neglecting yourself. You can't rise while you're rooted in distraction. So give yourself permission to grow, permission to heal, to win, permission to rest. Let the world spin while you find your center. Let them wonder where you are while you meet the version of you that's been waiting all along. Focus on yourself, not out of ego, but out of purpose. Not for pride, but for peace. Because when you become the best version of you, everything around you begins to change. Your environment aligns, your relationships elevate, your decisions sharpen, and your spirit finally breathes. You don't owe everyone an explanation. That's a truth that will set you free if you let it settle in your spirit. Because too many of us are tired, not because of the weight of the work, but because of the weight of trying to be understood. We exhaust ourselves trying to justify our growth to people who have no capacity to understand our process. But listen closely, some people were never meant to understand you. They were only meant to observe you. And even then, their observation doesn't require your explanation. There is power in knowing that you can change, evolve, heal, rise, and not say a word. You don't have to submit a press release every time you take a step forward. You don't have to clear your name every time someone speaks against it. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them twist the story. You weren't called to correct every rumor. You were called to carry purpose. And purpose doesn't waste time. Convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. When God begins to shift your life, there will always be people who question your motives. They'll say you've changed like it's a curse, when in reality, it's your calling. They courage. They'll say you think you're better now, when really you just finally started thinking better of yourself. They'll accuse you of being distant, when in truth, you're just focused. And the moment you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim your energy. You gather up the pieces of your power that were scattered trying to please everyone else. Explanations are often sought by those who want to control your narrative. They don't care to understand. They care to manipulate. They want access, not clarity. So when you start saying no, when you start moving different, when you start guarding your peace, they'll ask for explanations, not because they care, because they feel entitled to you. But you're not obligated to make others comfortable at the expense of your growth. You've got to get the place where you realize silence is a full sentence. It takes courage to win. Boundaries are complete answers, and your discernment doesn't require debate. If you've prayed about it, if you sought wisdom, if you've obeyed your conviction, then stand firm. Let your whys be yes, and your no. The rest is not your responsibility. Not everyone has the maturity to handle your journey. Not everyone is supposed to be in your inner circle. And the more you explain yourself to the wrong people, the more you dilute your conviction. You start second-guessing what you know to be true. You start walking backwards trying to meet people who were never meant to walk with you in the first place. You are not for everyone, and that's okay. You weren't created to fit in every mold or appease every critic. You were created to fulfill a purpose that sometimes requires you to walk alone. And when you truly understand your assignment, you'll stop negotiating with people who don't have the authority to validate your steps. You'll stop trying to translate your journey into a language they can understand. Let your fruit speak for you. Let your peace speak for you. Let your healing speak for you. You don't have to defend what God is doing in your life. You just have to walk in it to win. And those who are supposed to walk with you will understand without explanation. They'll recognize the shift. They'll respect the silence, and they'll celebrate the growth. So today, release yourself from the prison of over-explaining. You don't need to prove, defend, or convince. You just need to be true, be focused, be free, and let your life, quiet as it may be, speak louder than any words ever could. Real growth doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need a spotlight, a microphone, or a round of applause. Real growth happens in hidden places, in the stillness, in the shadows where no one is clapping, no one is watching, and no one is validating. It takes root in the quiet decisions you make when no one else sees. It is forged in early mornings and late nights, in the solitude of self-reflection, in the fire of uncomfortable choices. It is birthed not in noise, but in silence, not in crowds, but in corners. And this is why some of the most profound transformations happen while everyone else assumes you're standing still. You can't always measure growth with your eyes, because sometimes what looks like stillness on the surface is actually deep movement underground. You may not see the branches stretch, but the roots are anchoring. You may not see the fruit yet, but the soil is shifting. Just because others can't see what's happening in you doesn't mean nothing is happening. Real growth is slow, sacred, and often silent. This is why you can't judge someone by their current season, nor should you let others define you by yours. When? Because while they're looking for external proof, God is doing internal work. While they want to see the results, God is developing the character. While they're watching for elevation, God is working on your foundation. And let me tell you, a deep foundation takes time, but it's necessary, because what God is building in you requires stability. It requires roots that go deep enough to withstand the storms that are coming with elevation you've been praying for. It's easy to perform growth. It's easy to post the highlights. It's easy to talk about discipline and healing and boundaries. But it's another thing entirely to live it when nobody's watching. It's another thing to off temptation in silence, to confront your fears in private, to choose forgiveness when no one is asking you to show up for yourself when there's no one cheering you on. That's real growth. And it's not pretty. It's not glamorous, but it's necessary. The truth is, people often miss the most powerful part of your journey because it doesn't look like success. It looks like separation. It looks like being misunderstood. It looks like walking away from what used to satisfy you. It looks like crying in prayer. It looks like resisting what once had a hold on you. It looks like losing before it looks like winning. But in that quiet, to win, visible place, that's where you're being formed. That's where your roots are being strengthened. That's where your soul is being refined to win. You've got to stop expecting people to celebrate what they can't see. You've got to stop waiting for recognition to confirm your progress. Growth doesn't need confirmation from people. It needs consistency from you. Keep doing the work even when it feels unnoticed. Keep showing up for your assignment even when it feels unrewarded, because what you build in silence will speak volumes when it finally emerges. And when the fruit finally comes, when the peace shows up, when the strength is visible, when the light returns, people will wonder how you got there. Courage to win. They'll see the glory but not the grind. They'll praise the result but never understand the process. But that's all right, because you didn't grow for their purpose. You grew for your purpose. You for your calling. You grew because staying the same was no longer an option. So embrace the hidden season, honor the quiet work. Don't despise the silence, because it's in that sacred, unseen place that your greatest transformation is unfolding. Let them wonder. Let them overlook you. Just keep growing anyway, because what's being formed in private will one day shine in public, and when it does, you won't need to explain a thing. Your life will speak for itself. Your peace is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. It is not something to be negotiated, borrowed, or compromised. It is sacred. It is holy. It is your responsibility to protect it like treasure, because once your peace is disturbed, your focus is broken, your clarity is clouded, and your purpose becomes vulnerable. Peace is the foundation on which sound decisions are made. And when your soul is at rest, you can hear the voice of God more clearly, you can move with more certainty, and you can love more freely. That's why protecting your peace is not just wise, it is warfare. There are people, places, and patterns that are enemies of your peace. They come in the form of toxic conversations, unresolved trauma, unguarded access, and unhealed relationships. And if you don't learn to guard your spirit, you will live in a constant state of spiritual exhaustion. Tired, but you don't know why. Drained, but still trying to pour. Smiling on the outside, but crumbling on the inside. And all the while, your peace has been bleeding out through the cracks you refuse to seal. You have to become intentional about what you allow into your mind, your space, and your heart. Not everyone deserves access. Not every invitation should be accepted. Not every text needs a reply. Some of the chaos in your life doesn't come from the devil. It comes from your inability to say no. Your healing depends on your boundaries. Your future depends on your filters. You can't keep letting people walk into your world with dirty feet and expect to live clean. You've got to stop normalizing dysfunction just because it's familiar. Just because they've always had access doesn't mean they should still have it. Just because it didn't break doesn't mean it didn't bruise you. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of alignment. And when you are aligned with your values, your calling, your God, peace becomes your portion. Sometimes protecting your peace means walking away. Not in anger, but in wisdom. Not because you're better than anyone, because you're finally better to yourself. Sometimes it means being quiet in rooms full of noise. Sometimes it means turning off the news, closing the app, silencing the phone, and just breathing, reconnecting with yourself, listening to your own soul. Because when your soul is nourished, you don't crave attention, you crave us. You don't chase validation, you move in clarity. Peace is not passive. It's not just sitting in a quiet room with candles and soft music. Peace is a result of discipline. It comes from choosing forgiveness when revenge is easier. It comes from releasing control and trusting God with the outcome. It comes from letting go of people who love the version of you that stays wounded. It comes from unclenching your fists and surrendering your need to be right, to be heard, to be understood. The enemy doesn't just want your stuff. He wants your peace because he knows if he can take your praise. If he can take your peace, win. He can blur your vision. If he can take your peace, he can steal your momentum. That's why you must guard it. Don't let bitterness steal it. Takes courage to win. Don't let fear contaminate it. Don't let other people's chores become your normal. You are too valuable, too called, too need to live in constant turmoil. Your peace is your power. Your peace is your protection. Your peace is your confirmation that you're on the right path. So protect it like it's treasure, because it is. Don't explain it. Don't apologize for it. Just live in it. Let them call you distant, guarded, quiet, cold. That's all right. As long as you've got your peace, you've got your power. And when your peace is intact, you can walk into any storm and not be shaken. Because you know what's within you is stronger than what's around you. Elevation does not come without isolation. That's a hard truth, but a necessary one. When you ask to be elevated, when you pray for greater strength, deep wisdom, higher purpose, what you are really asking for is to be set apart. You are asking to be refined, and refinement doesn't happen in crowds. It happens in the quiet. It happens in the crushing. It happens when God pulls you away from everything and everyone you once leaned on so that you can learn how to lean on him alone. It's in the season of isolation that the distractions fall away. The noise is silenced. The opinions stop mattering. And suddenly you can hear your own soul again. You can feel your convictions again. You can see your reflection without the distortion of comparison. And for the first time in a long time, you realize how much yourself you lost trying to be everything to everyone else. That's the power of isolation. It reveals what connection often conceals. Don't despise the lonely seasons. They are not punishments. They are promotions in disguise. It's in the wilderness that God prepares you for the promise. It's in the desert that you develop discipline. It's in the silence that you learn the sound of God's voice. Because when he elevates you, it takes courage to win. You can't afford to be unstable. You be insecure. You can't be double-minded. You've got to be anchored in something greater than applause. You've got to be rooted in something deeper than attention. And that's why isolation is necessary. Because God will separate you so he can strengthen you. Courage to win. He will remove the crowd so he can correct your character. He will take away the crutches so you learn how to walk on your own. You thought people were walking away from you, but really they were removed to make space for clarity, for growth. Some connections can't go with you where you're going. Some conversations won't fit in your next season. Some habits, some comforts, some mindsets, they've got to die so that the real you can rise. Elevation requires sacrifice. You will have to let go of what's familiar. You will have to choose purpose over popularity. You will have to endure being misunderstood, talked about, even rejected. But don't panic. Don't retreat. Because every step away from the crowd is a step closer to your calling. Every closed door is God protecting what he's preparing in you. And every lonely night is evidence that you're in the right place on the edge of breakthrough. It's in isolation that vision becomes clear. That purpose becomes priority. That faith becomes fierce. Because when you're alone, all you have left is your truth. And your truth will carry you when applause won't. Your truth will guide you when advice fails. Your truth will remind you who are when everything else falls apart. So don't resist the separation. Don't fight the solitude. Let it do what it came to do. Let it strip away the false layers. Let it refine your character. Let it bring you face to face with the person you were always meant to become. You don't need to be surrounded to be successful. You don't need a crowd to be chosen. All you need is alignment. And alignment often begins in isolation. This is not the end of your story. This is the sacred middle. This is the refining fire. This is the cocoon before the wings. And when you emerge, you won't have to say a word. Your growth will speak. Your peace will shine. Your praise will shift atmospheres. So embrace the silence. Accept the solitude and understand this. Elevation requires isolation. And you are being set apart to rise.